Let's bring in House Ways and Means Committee member, Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne. Congresswoman, terrific to see you. Not only is the IRS responsible for collecting revenue, the IRS is responsible for more than 1/3 of improper payments in the earned income tax credit going out the door. 1/3 of improper payments in the education tax credit, 15% of improper payments going out the door in the refundable child tax credits, 1/4 for the Obamacare premium tax credit. The IRS is broken, but the Democrats are upset about you and Republicans trying to fix it.
No, we had a couple of tense hearings in Ways and Means the last few days, exactly that. And IRS, they should be worried. Not only are they doing a really bad job, maintaining, their credibility, but think about what they've done. They've also been weaponized in the last several years to go after conservatives while protecting things like the Biden crime family. So they absolutely should be concerned. We're going to get down to the bottom of it. It's sad that it's taken this long. I have introduced legislation that would actually have a third-party audit on all of our agencies, including the IRS. It has to happen. When there's looking at $500 billion of potential fraud, waste, and abuse, instead of Democrats opening this up and saying this is a good thing that we're finding, they are shooting the messenger, because this is protecting their pocketbooks that have been getting full with this waste, fraud, and abuse, as well as their donors. It's pathetic that it's been happening this long. And finally, we have an administration and a Congress, by the way, that's hand in glove, willing to fight it.
Congresswoman, they come up with all the clever slogans, the bumper stickers, you can't spell felon without Elon, but these are the people that can get into anything they want about us, can threaten the American people, and then when we demand that they show us what they're doing, their decision, we're the evil ones. What is the Congress going to do to help Doge with its efforts? There's a House Doge caucus. There's a role for the House here.
Well, absolutely. When we're putting together our budget, we're taking that all into account, and we're looking at appropriations of what's being wasted, and what we can actually get our hands around. So it will be a partnership effort. But Congress has got to do its job as well, which is why right now, I got to give it to Jody Arrington coming up with a budget that's looking at trillions and trillions of dollars of government spending cuts that have to be necessary when we're looking at, over a $36 trillion debt and a $2 trillion deficit. And so we have to make sure that we are doing the work. But it's crazy when we're in some of these hearings and we're listening to Democrats who are not talking about the message that they're hearing. Look at how much waste that we have. Look at these programs that you and your budgets that you supported, that you passed, that you voted for. Look at where those dollars are going, and look at where they're not going. You sit here and you say that you want to protect those, our hardworking Americans, and yet you've got no problem with the graft that has been sent out. And it's absolutely shocking that they're trying to defend it. And the only thing that they're arguing is that, well, Elon Musk is the wrong guy to do it because he's not elected. First of all, it's Donald Trump, make no mistake, that is making these decisions. Elon Musk and his advisor, and he's making the advice, he's taking the time to go through line by line all of these budget items. But make no mistake, it is an elected president that's doing this effort. But second of all, when you think about where has all of this graft come from, who has been making the decisions on the regulatory side, all of that is unelected bureaucrats. They've got no problem with the bureaucrats as long as they're helping them. But when it comes time to cutting the budget, looking at waste, getting rid of the fraud, getting rid of the abuse, they're not on board, which is shocking because that's exactly what the American people are.
You just hit on it, Congresswoman, that a lot of the thievery and the abuse and just the grotesque waste that is kind of the beating heart of the Democrat Party, it stops when you just simply cut spending. Because it's much easier to get away with it when you've got trillions of dollars going out the door. It's $3.5 trillion in a budget deficit when the economy was growing over the last 2 fiscal years. But the reason the American people are onto this and want it to stop, I think, is because they had 4 years of Joe Biden and they didn't know who was running and ruining the country. Well, it was faceless bureaucrats wearing lanyards. That's why, I think that's the why now, potentially, of why the American people are truly fed up.
Yeah, they've had 4 years of abuse. They looked at what's happened in the economy. They looked at what's happened to their bank accounts, how much more they're having to pay now, how much less they're getting paid now, really, when you start looking at the value of the dollar, and they're sick of it. They're also looking at what's happening around the country. They're looking at what's happening in their community's safety, what happened at the border, how we were shipping, billions of dollars to other countries, identifying that, having a safe border was important to them while ignoring our own, and they are sick of it. And when you start identifying where those dollars are going, the ridiculous programs, these DEI programs, these trans programs to other countries, people are shaking their heads saying, I don't have enough money right now to be able to retire. I don't have enough money to be able to pay both my insurance bill, which has gone skyrocketing, or my food bill. When we look at the amount of debt that we've got, it's the most that we've ever had, credit card debt in American history. There's a reason why, and people are sick of it. And I think you look at the effort that's been happening by Doge, by both Congress and in this new administration in just the last few weeks. They are hopeful, they are optimistic, and they're supportive of it. Democrats should get on board.
Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, a pleasure. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Kel.